YouTube has just demonetized my entire channel without warning, and my appeal has been rejected. And I suspect that my coverage of LGBTQ issues has played a role in this, but I will not be backing down. First, let's talk about why I was demonetized and why I believe YouTube is acting maliciously. And then we're going to talk about how this impacts me and my channel moving forward. I was demonetized because of the reuse content clause of YouTube's monetization policies. These screenshots were all I was told, and with them, you are now as informed as I. They demonetized my channel because, quote, our team of policy specialists carefully looked over the videos you've uploaded to your channel, Christianity Commons. A significant portion of your channel is not in line with our YouTube partner program policies. You can read the rest on the screen here. So this is the first claim. Whatever the problem is, it isn't a singular video. It's my entire channel as a whole, and they reiterate this later. Now, the second claim comes from YouTube's Creator Studio. This is where I can see a lot of the analytics and the things on the back end of YouTube that you as a viewer can't see unless you have a channel. In this, we can see that they are accusing me of reusing other people's content without making changes that add significant value, and they give me the option to submit an appeal. I submitted the appeal, which I will go over in a minute. Now, the same day I submitted this appeal, I received a response stating that the videos referenced in my appeal are not representative of my channel. Now, when you click on this link that they provided to me, it goes to the repetitious content and reuse content section of YouTube's ad program. And the idea behind this section is good, and it prevents the stealing of content. But let's look at why these claims are false. There's only one video that I've done on my entire channel that includes content that doesn't fall under public domain and doesn't contain any words that I myself have spoken or written. It also happens to be on gay marriage, as you can see here. However, even this video contains music that I myself wrote specifically for it, as well as the editing that I put into it. Whether it's transformative or not can be argued one way or the other. But I also never monetized it. Even when it was going big, I didn't make a penny on that video, and you can see that here. I did this intentionally because it's controversial, and I understand most advertisers don't want to be associated with it. I was also worried that it was going to continue slowing the growth down. I didn't want to keep it from taking off as big as it was going and affect its course negatively. Now, it's important to understand, advertisers are not friends to a biblical worldview, and for more on that, I would invite you to check out this video in the description. Now, to reiterate, YouTube is saying that this isn't a single video issue. My entire channel is the issue. However, I have over 100,000 words of carefully researched scripts that would suggest otherwise. Even if you take a brief look at my videos on the channel, it would easily demonstrate this claim to be false. And I am therefore left with two explanations for why YouTube is doing this. One option is this is a mistake on YouTube's part and they're lying about carefully reviewing this. If that's the case, it's pretty messed up regardless of how you spin it, as many people on YouTube depend on ad revenue to pay the bills. If this wasn't a mistake, the only reasonable option that is left is they're censoring my content because they don't like the information that I'm putting out. Perhaps there are more options than that, but these are the only two that seem reasonable at this present moment. So what does this mean for me in the future of my channel? It means that I will no longer be getting that sweet moolah that is less than $200 over the entire lifetime of my channel. I know, so sad. And you might be thinking, why do you care about losing $10 a month, Mike? And the short answer is, you're right, I don't care. I have a full-time job, and I also won't be setting up a Patreon or asking for any kind of donation, so if you see somebody doing that on my behalf, it's a scam. I'm gonna be okay. But even if I wasn't going to make it financially, I should still be okay because I believe in a living God who loves us and is with us and promises us that we will be persecuted if we follow him. This is what is promised. That being said, it does make me very uncomfortable to even mention the word persecuted in this context because it would be narcissistic and a pathetic pity party to suggest that what I'm going through is even comparable to real religious persecution. Now, I don't talk about this much, but YouTube is not an end product for me. It's a byproduct. And what I mean by that is this. The only reason I produce YouTube videos is that it provides a medium for me that I can learn how to teach and prepare for that teaching. This radically improves my study quality. Or in other words, I learn things best when I have to teach it. It's not because I, as a dorky dentist, think that I am a good teacher. It's because I want to be better equipped to disciple my children and their children. That is the end product. Multi-generational discipleship is the end product. I am not the end product. This channel is not the end product. And that is, I think, how we should be fighting this spiritual war. The reality is, demonetization is hardly an adversity for me. I don't even want to make it a bigger issue than it is. But again, that isn't the case for other ministries and other channels, especially since overall giving has been down for most ministries since COVID. Additionally, the threat of censorship is very real, and that's part of why I'm making this video to begin with. Christians need to stop treating each other like enemies just because they disagree in 10% issues when they don't pertain to orthodoxy. As censorship begins to be a greater threat, we need to demonstrate the unity that Christ speaks of in John chapter 17 or Paul in Ephesians 4, and so on. Moving forward, I still plan on finishing my series on understanding the Bible like never before, which, if you haven't seen them, are probably the best videos on my channel so far, yet they're also performing worse than when I had just 1,000 subscribers. Coincidence? Maybe, but probably not. After that series, I plan on revisiting many of the LGBTQ issues that likely led to my demonetization, though this channel will not be purely devoted to it. Again, YouTube is not my end game. Tearing down the kingdom of darkness and spreading the gospel through discipleship is my end game. When I am met with resistance, no matter how small it is, it makes me want to dig deep and continue tearing down the lies raised against the knowledge of God. I will not back down, even if it means they delete my channel, which at this point is a real possibility. In the case that this does happen, I would encourage you to follow me on Twitter or check out my website. I'm not active on either of those because I don't have the bandwidth, but if something does happen, I will post an update there. So there are a couple things I would like to conclude with and encourage you in this conversation of demonetization. And the first is, I would encourage you to prioritize discipleship. That's why I can sit here and talk about these things today. I am the product of the discipleship of my parents and grandparents. What do you need to do to disciple the next generation? If you don't have children, what are you going to do to prepare for when you do? What do you need to drop that has no eternal value, even if it's viewed by most as a good thing? How are you using or saving your finances so that you can make disciples for generations to come? The second thing that I would encourage you to do is to take a stand with boldness, courage, and divine love. There are so many good examples of this in Christian history, and one of my favorite examples is a missionary to China, India, and Africa. He comes from the late 1800s, early 1900s, and his name is C.T. Studd. And he wrote the following, which will conclude this video. Some want to live within the sound of a church or a chapel bell. I want to run a rescue shop within a yard of hell. When someone says there's a line in the way, the real Christian promptly replies, "That's hardly enough inducement for me. Besides, I need a bear or two to make it worth my while." We Christians often substitute prayer for playing the game. Prayer is good, but when it's a substitute for obedience, it's nothing but a blatant hypocrisy and a despicable Phariseeism. Will you fear or will you fight? Shall your brethren go to war while you sit here? To your knees, man, and to your Bible. Decide at once. Don't hedge. Time flies. Cease your insults to God. Quit consulting flesh and blood. Stop your lame, lying, and cowardly excuses. Learn to scorn the praise of men and learn to lose with God. Jesus won the world through shame and beckons us his road. My prayer is when I die, all hell rejoices that I am out of the fight. The world will have lost its biggest fool, and with one less fool to handicap him, God will do greater wonders still. Our God will still be alive, and nothing else matters. To die is gain.